In this video, I'm going to give you 5 steps on how to get women to actually meet you in real life when you live in a city or a region because of various factors, primarily the cervesa sickness, where women are reluctant to do so. I am Caleb Jones, and this is Alpha Male 2.0. I make a multi-six-figure international location-independent income while dating multiple attractive women, and I teach men like you how to do the same thing. I am currently, unfortunately, back in the collapsing USA in Portland, Oregon. Here I am in my temporary office in the Portland area. And I have noticed, since being here for the last few weeks, that getting women to actually meet me in real life, including women I have met before in the past sexually, FBs, ex-MLTRs, and things of that nature, has been kind of difficult. There's really a change here, at least in the Portland area, the last 2 years, primarily because of the cerveza sickness and stimmy checks and changes in the culture and various other factors. It's almost like nobody wants to go anywhere. Everyone just wants to stay home and watch Netflix and get stimmy checks and not do anything. It's really weird. And this has definitely affected dating, even women on my roster who I've seen many times historically who live in this area. For the first time ever, I've had some difficulty in Portland getting women to actually meet up with me. This is something brand new. This is in terms of women I already know and new cold women. I've experimented with that, and that's been weird. Now, this is not the whole world. I've been in several other cities over the past few months in the United States, and I didn't have any problems meeting women in those cities. My wife and I were in Miami a few months ago. We had no problems there. Not a big deal at all. But here in Portland and in certain parts of the United States and certain parts of Canada, Europe, Australia, other parts of the world, you might be in a region where people just don't want to go anywhere, which makes dating more difficult. So I'm about to give you 5 steps that I have employed to make sure that I get sexually sustained, even though I'm in a region where women just don't want to go anywhere. Step 1, don't freak out. Now, a lot of you guys do this. A lot of you guys have a little trouble using online dating or trying to resurrect old FBs or MLTRs, and you run into some problems, and then you just freak out and you throw your arms in the air and say, oh, it doesn't work anymore, I'm screwed, women don't want to meet me, and no one likes me, and you make a bunch of bullshit excuses. Don't freak out. More difficult does not equal impossible. Let me say that again, because a lot of guys misunderstand that in terms of the dating world and the relationship world over the past 20 years. More difficult does not equal impossible. More difficult means you need to put in a little more work and change your approach, and then you'll get results. As I've shown before and talked about before, of the 4 types of game styles, night game, day game, online dating, and social circle game, 3 have become more difficult over the past 15 years. Night game is harder, day game is harder, online dating is harder. Social circle game, I think, is easier, but the other 3 are harder. And that is okay. There are still guys all over the world getting results from these 3 areas, including myself, because we put in a little extra work and we change our approach. So it's okay when you encounter problems like this. Don't say, no one can have sex in my city because my city's too difficult. I've had guys say that. Stupid and inaccurate. Number 2, and this is no surprise if you know my content, you need to put in more numbers. So if historically you were able to send 3 or 4 texts to 3 or 4 women and immediately set up appointments, which has been my history, and that doesn't work anymore, guess what that means? You're gonna have to text more than 3 or 4 women. You might have to text 4, 5, 6, 7 women. Now, if you don't have a big roster like I have, that means you'll have to get back on the dating sites and or back out there doing day game or whatever style of game you use and put in more numbers. This is the more work aspect of this. Yes, in cities where women don't want to go anywhere because they live in a post-cerveza sickness world or whatever reason they have. I don't really understand these reasons because I'm not like this, but whatever reasons there are, yes, you're going to have to put in a little more effort, which means you got to put in more numbers. And again, don't get angry about that. Don't get resentful about that. Don't get pissed off about that. Just say, okay, I got to put in a little more numbers. I guess I better get to work. When I ran into this problem several weeks ago, I was surprised. It was interesting because I'd never seen this happen in this part of the world before. But instead of freaking out, so I guess I can't get laid, or in my case, I guess I have to be monogamous for the next 2 months to my wife because I can't get any FBs, I said, all right, I'm gonna have to put in some more numbers. And guess what? I got laid. Isn't that wonderful? What an amazing concept. So put in more numbers. Now, when I say more numbers, I'm talking in terms of both warm women, women on your roster, women you've been with in the past, And if you're doing new stuff, new online dating, new day game, new night game, if you're able to do it, new sugar daddy game for you older guys, putting in more numbers over there as well. However you're doing this, whatever buckets you're using, and in this particular experiment I did a little both, you need to put in more numbers than you're typically used to in both of these areas. And that's okay, just do it. Number 3, be more clear with women up front. This is true both of warm women and new or / cold women. What I mean by that is when you're going to meet up with them, you need to be very clear with them, for some reason this works, about what exactly you're going to do and what exactly is going to take place when you meet up. So if it's someone you've already had sex with many times and it's an old FB, you're going to tell her, hey, let's meet up. We'll go to this particular location. We'll hang out and talk. We'll have sex. It'll be a good time. Lay out exactly what you're going to do. If it's a new woman, depending on what type of game you're using, if it's day game or online dating or sugar daddy game, really depends what you're doing. Be very clear and upfront about exactly what's going to happen on the first meet. More clear than you've been in the past. So if you're doing standard online dating, you would say something like, hey, what we should do is we're going to meet up at a Starbucks. We're going to talk for about a half an hour, hang out and talk, and that's it. No big deal. Very, very, very clear. If you're doing sugar daddy game, you may have to throw in exactly how much money you're willing to spend. If you're doing sugar daddy game versus salt daddy game, topic for another time. But my point is, when you live in a region where women are kind of reluctant to leave their homes, I have found it really helps to be very clear and very transparent about exactly what your expectations are in terms of what's going to occur. And certainly you can calibrate what you're going to do based on the target market of women you're dealing with, the city in which you live, the culture in which you live. Feel free to do that. My point is just be very clear and specific about what's going to happen when you meet up. That will actually help you a lot. Before I go on to step 4, something you should do. You should subscribe to this channel. If you like this content, click the notification bell, leave a comment and a like on this video. It doesn't matter what you say. The more algorithm-friendly activities I get on these videos, the more of these videos I will produce for you for free. So you're just helping yourself. Step number 4, be more flexible about logistics. What do I mean by this? Well, if you live in a region where everyone is perfectly fine going out and acting like normal human beings, you can be pretty stingy about how you want to meet up. I don't want to meet up with women more than 20 minutes from my home, and I'm going to drive there, and I don't want to have to help or pay for an Uber. I don't want to pick women up. You can do that if it's easy to get women out of their homes. But if you live in a location like I'm staying at right now, where people are reluctant to leave their homes, you're gonna have to be a little more flexible. You might have to drive a little farther than you used to, and that's okay. You might have to meet up with women at odd times of the day or evening that you're not typically accustomed to, and that's okay. If you're doing sugar daddy game and you're shelling out some money, you may have to shell out a little more money or be more flexible about Ubering women around because they don't want to drive their cars too far because of gas prices. You see my point. You're gonna have to be a little more flexible about the logistics specifics. And if that just infuriates you and pisses you off, then you don't want to get laid bad enough. I guess go back to jerking off to porn. I don't know what to tell you. Step number 5, and this should be obvious, but it's very important, and a lot of guys forget this, especially as they get into this process through several years of doing the same stuff. Double down on the techniques that you know work. Sometimes guys get lax about this. And guys who did well 10 years ago are now having trouble because the dating marketplace has changed, cerveza sickness, gas prices, cultural changes. So you're going to have to double down on the things that you probably were slacking off on earlier. Things like make sure your appearance is as good as you can get it within the limitations of your age and genetics. Get it as good as you possibly can. Your skin, your hair, your clothing, get your physical appearance optimized as best as you can. This should be obvious, but it's even more important now. No, you don't have to look like Tom Cruise. Do I look like Tom Cruise? No, but you have to optimize your physical appearance as much as you possibly can. You have to work on your confidence, your bravery, and again, fake it till you make it if you're very nervous. Work on your outcome independence. Stop giving a shit. Stop caring about whether or not this date will work out or the second date will work out. Outcome independence is the #1 most non-physical attractive quality for women that they find in men. So the more outcome independent you are, the better you're going to do with women. Things like using Zoom calls if she's just terrified to meet you. Maybe she's much younger. Maybe she's inexperienced. Maybe it's been 2 years since she's been out on a date because of cerveza sickness. Be flexible and have a FaceTime or Zoom or Skype video chat with her for a few minutes and then lead that into an actual first meet. You get my point. Double down on the stuff you know works. Don't slack off on this. This is not the time to slack off, especially if you live in a region like this area where nobody wants to leave their homes. If you want more information on specifically what to do to bolster your sex life, you should go to gettosexfast.com. That is my book on how to do first and second dates to get to sex as quickly as humanly possible, mutually consensual, of course, within 2 dates, within 4 hours of FaceTime, with under $27 spent. And just for some of you who might be complaining that you might have to work a little harder in some of these regions, I suggest you watch this video right here on how to not be a little bitch. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.